So in a previous set of videos, we had a look at conditional formatting where it involved filled charts. And that usually was going to a colour and then clicking on this dot dot dot. You can also do it by right and clicking on the colour, which again I don't think is particularly obvious. So we had a look at the colour scale, but let's have a look at a different item. Formatting by rules, and we'll be looking at field value much later on, by the way. So looking at rules, if the average of the terraced 12 months % change is, and this is where we can put stuff in. So I want to say if it is greater than or equal to a particular number as opposed to a percent. So if it's greater than 5, maybe actually if it's greater than 10 and less than, you can see that there is currently a problem with this logic. So if it's less than 999, okay, problem in logic goes away, then it's too hot. Now, if it is greater than 2 and less than 10, then, now notice I can put in overlapping rules if I so wish, but it will basically do one colour. So that is just right. And if the value is greater than or equal to, and you can see the other option, so is exact, is blank means as it says. So if it is greater than, well, I can't say it's less than 2, so I will say if it's greater than minus 999 and less than 2, then it's too cold. So we've got the Goldilocks syndrome. So here we can see it's way too hot. If we go just for a few years greater, now we can see it's getting cold, and now it's way too cold. Get a bit later, and it looks great, just right. So with these cards, I don't put it necessarily on the forecolor. Instead, I put it in on the background. So let's put the background on, and that colour is going to be exactly what I've just put in. So based on rules, if the average of that is greater than 10, let's say, and is less than that, then it's too hot. If it's greater than 2 and less than 10, then it's just right. And if it's greater than minus 999 and less than 2, then it's too cold. You could have a bit where it's neutral. So it could be is less than 0, and that would be neutral. So here we can see it's a green colour. Here it's too cold. Here it's too hot. So that gives a very striking visualization of your target, of your figures. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? I can see that without even looking at the number. Now we can also do the same thing with this table. So maybe the table, I want one of these things to be a particular colour. And I could format the lot in a particular colour, but I want one particular field. So what I do is I go to that field and I click on the drop down, or I right and click on it, and I can select conditional formatting that way. So again, this is probably one where the forecolor actually works as well as the back colour. So if I put in exactly the same rules, and I'll just pause the video and do it. So exactly the same rules as before, you can see we're getting a bit on the too hot side in this time period. And if we go further down, then we get into the cold, especially when we're in the negative territory. What we can also do with the conditional formatting is add in bars. So it's not just one set of conditional formatting. I can add data bars. So these data bars can show whether things are in the positive or in the negative. And you notice I didn't have to set anything up to get there. So we can see it's really heating up in 2004. And just like any table, I can click on something to restrict the information to that particular time period. Additionally, I could put on icons. So if I go back to here and go to conditional formatting icons, you can see the sort of icon styles that are available. So we can see when it's at the top 33%, the middle 33%, and the bottom 33% of the values. Now, what happens if we've got two overlapping values? For instance, we've got some figures which are 9%. What happens if instead of having the first conditional formatting, and to modify the conditional formatting, you just go back into the conditional formatting again. Instead of it being greater than or equal to 10, what if it was 8? So now this red would take priority maybe, because of the numbers which are 9 is greater than. So does it stop here? And you can see, no, it doesn't. It continues through. So if I wanted this one to have priority, then I need to move it further down so it gets towards the end. And now you can see 9 is too hot. So 9 is both too hot and just right. So it's whichever one comes later that has the last figure. So you can picture it that it goes green and then it goes red. Only one of those colours will happen, and it will be the last one. Now you could have a gap in the middle like that. So now 9 doesn't have any conditional formatting whatsoever, so it becomes black, or more accurately, it remains black. If you want to remove any of the conditional formatting, then you can do that with the remove conditional formatting here. Or if you're talking about conditional formatting on the background, for instance, then you can say revert to default. So conditional formatting, it's a great way, very quick way of highlighting information. So it only needs a little bit of setup. If you've used Excel, then this will be fairly self-evident what to do. And you can do it on either a color scale, so that says when you're at the bottom or the middle or the top of a particular set of values, or you can do it by rules, and this is when you can specify the exact number that you want it to be hot, cold,